your time, energy, all of that stuff is
And
important.
relationships.
And relationships. All of that is important when it comes to being an entrepreneur. And today we're going to discuss some of those important things and how to protect your time, your energy, and your relationship as an entrepreneur, how it's relevant, how will it actually make you successful, and if you're struggling with being a business owner, being an entrepreneur in any of these areas, today's message is the message for you. So stick around
Yes.
and we'll dive right in. My good friend Jerry Luna, marketing expert, here to give us some expertise and some, information from a marketing agency standpoint, and of course myself, Richard Dingle, insurance agency owner, here to dive into it from an agency owner standpoint when it comes to insurance. So, um, without further ado, we will get right into it. So, Jerry, what do you hear when you hear protecting your time, energy, and your relationship? What are some of the things that comes to mind?
Oh, well, it's all you have, you only have your time, no, like however much money can never buy a single second of time. So protecting your time is of the utmost importance, and giving your time to the most important things is how you get ahead. If everybody has the same amount of hours in the day, well, what separates a Warren Buffett from a regular Joe? Well, it's how he spends his time. Does Warren
Mm,
Buffett do the same kinds of things that the average Joe does? Not really. So Warren Buffett protects his time. He knows where to prioritize, in order to get ahead in his business. And I feel like that's what's lacking in today's entrepreneurial world is focusing on the right things. Because otherwise, if everybody has the same amount of time and others get way more out of their time, well, those people are doing the right things compared to somebody who is doing some of the wrong things with their time. And we can get into what some of those wrong things are. What are some of those things for you that you feel are the most important things, in your life and business?
yeah, no, time, as you said, is very important. It is the most important resource that we have, right? Money and can't, like you said, can't, replace time. However, money, in my opinion, can buy back your time because we're all spending time, right? We're all spending it. So money can save you from spending time, if that makes sense. So, um, the most important thing, one of the most important things to me is family, of course, spending that time with family, spending time doing what I want to do and not spending time on doing things because I have to do them. And not saying you don't do the things that you have to do. Of course, we know that's what being disciplined is, right? But there's a ratio, right? If it's 50-50, you don't want to 50% of your time is spent doing the things you have to, 50% spend on want to. There should be a more skewed ratio. Maybe 10% of your time spent on doing the things that you have to do, and 90% doing what you want to do because you will get better results doing the things you want to do, right? You'll put more energy, more effort, more passion in those things. So yeah, like mowing, I used to be one of those people. I was a mechanic for 7 years. So being a mechanic, you you don't buy cars, brand new cars. Some do, but most don't, right? You know how to fix the cars, right? So why would you spend money and monthly on a car payment, right? Mechanics are very scared of monthly car payments, right? Now, when I'm not in that lifestyle anymore, I understand. Well, I'll spend that because I don't have to spend the time fixing the cars. You're talking about hours and hours, maybe fixing an issue with the car where I can just pay someone even if I'm paying you $150 an hour. It's funny we're talking about this because I literally just spoke about this to one of our agents that Elon Musk in 24 made $28 million an hour. And that is not to flex and not to say, oh, that is to say that's what you can possibly make in an hour. If he can do it, I can do it. Right? That means, wow, you can make $28 million in an hour. So that means my time is super valuable, right?
That's
It
right.
is, it is. extremely valuable. So why would I not pay somebody $100, $200 an hour to do something that's going to save me an hour of time when I can possibly make quadruple times that much in that same amount of time?
Yes, absolutely. And a lot of entrepreneurs they also talk about, like the leverage of your time. So for example, like doing laundry, doing dishes, and these kinds of chores around the house, those are low leverage activities, right? If you can if you do 10 hours a week doing these household chores, if you pay, like, let's say, a housekeeper $500 to do those things, is your time worth more than 50 an hour? If you can make more money by working an extra 10 hours a week, then it behooves you to outsource those things, so that way you can work 10 more hours and make, let's say, 2000 more dollars, you know. So it's all about, how much can you make per hour of your time. If you get more leverage for your time by working, if you could generate more income in those 10 hours, then it's worth it to outsource those things and put in more work and put in more time. So, a lot of people don't think about those little things. You could have a guy that makes, 7 figures a year. His time's very valuable, but he still does his own dishes. He still folds his own laundry. When you're at that level, you want to outsource these smaller tasks. And this is what Sam Ovens preaches too. When you're at a certain level, your time is more valuable than the cost of hiring a housekeeper to do these small things. You either have more money or more time. If you have more time and you're broke, then I guess it makes sense to do your own laundry. But if you're at that point where you have the ability to outsource to somebody else, and you can use that time that you save to make a lot more money, to make more money, to work harder, then I think you should make that trade, every single time. If if 10 hours a week it will cost you, 300 to $500, it's worth doing that, because if in those 10 hours you can generate more than whatever it is you're paying the housekeeper, then it's going to be worth it every time. So, you know,
Absolutely.
a lot of people have to make sure that they're protecting their time and using their time wisely and getting the most leverage out of their time.
Yeah,
Does that
yeah.
make sense?
Yes, that absolutely. And I think, spending money and spending time it's a balance that you must find. For one, you must find what the purpose and something valuable that people are going to pay you to do. If you don't have that, it doesn't matter how much money you spend buying back your time. The time that you're spending, you're not spending it doing anything to generate income. So it's you have a hole in the pocket, right? You have
Yes.
a hole in your pocket. So you're putting money into the pocket, but the hole at the bottom is so big when it comes to, the time. You're putting time in your pocket. I said that backwards. You're putting time in your pocket, but the bottom of the pocket is so big when it comes to the money and everything. You're not making enough money to for that time to even be worth it. So
That's a great
I
point too.
Yes, so I think that's the first step for entrepreneurs is finding something. And once you have a proven concept, okay, people are going to pay me a good bit of money to do this. Being, a agency owner for life insurance, being an agency owner for digital marketing. Okay, that's a proven concept. Whether it be $100 for each client, at least I have 12 clients. That's $1,200, right? On a monthly basis. Maybe, and you determine based on the product you have, but now okay, it's just a volume thing, right? And so now you know how you will spend your time. And we were just talking about this to where there is no excuse, there's no reason why you can't spend money to buy back your time. I know you just said, it might not be worth it to spend the money. If you're broke, you might not have that opportunity to spend money. We live in the age of credit. Okay, we live in the age of credit. You still have the opportunity. The problem is, yeah, if your credit's shot, we get it, but it's not, your credit didn't start off bad. Right? You start off with zero credit, you have to build it up. So that's not even that's not the issue. The main issue is where do you spend your time once you have it? And I was talking to one of our agents because he said something very dangerous. He said that, um, having a 50, $100,000 line of credit wouldn't make him necessarily any more productive at work because we were talking about fixing his
How about
credit.
that?
We were talking about fixing his credit, and I was like, how does having $100,000 line of credit not make you more productive at work? It absolutely should, because half the things you spend your time on right now to save money, you won't be doing that. So all the things that you find risky that you might not do at work, like go out and randomly talk to random business and the prospecting, well, you may not spend as heavy as time prospecting. I would only speak for myself. I don't spend as much time as I want to prospecting because, well, bills got to be paid. So let's hit the for sure 100% clients that I know I will be able to close, even though what's the word? The revenue from them, it's a lower price offer. These clients are spending lower budgets. I want to hit the big business, the big this, the big that, but those take a little bit more effort and time to close those deals. Those, $100,000. I heard that there was an agent that closed $100,000 on a single person
Wow.
life insurance
Wow.
policy.
That's amazing.
That's
That's
what
an
the client
aspirational
paid.
sale.
Yeah, I'm like, what? You close the client spends a hundred
100,000.
thousand dollars in a year, $100,000 per year on their life insurance policy. I
Amazing.
mean, that's for most people, that's your income for an entire year,
Exactly.
right? So those things are possible, but it takes more time to do so, right? So for me, it's like if I had $100,000 line of credit in that area, well, I don't have to worry about, bills. And God bless you. But we don't have to worry
Thank you.
about bills and things like that because, well, employees are getting paid no matter what. We're talking about, we're paying payroll and all these things. So the work changes. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it makes perfect sense. And absolutely, if you do have a line of credit, leverage that to actually save you time so you can work more and make more money, like if you save 10 hours a week, from doing menial tasks that don't make you money, and you take 10 more sales calls, and your close rate is 20 to 40%, let's say it's 30%, that's three more sales that you could have gotten, if you're putting in more time, more work. You also touched on a good point of buying back your time. I've fallen into this too, where I'll buy back my time, but then I won't work any harder, so I'll buy back my time, but I won't make any more money because I'm not doing the right things. And so I'll fall into that. And so it's important to, when you do buy back your time, to reinvest that time into more work so you could have a multiplying effect on your work, on your business, on your money making. So it's important that when you do buy back your time, that you actually work as opposed to, oh, I bought back, some of my time. Now I could be lazier, or now I could be playing more Yu-Gi-Oh or whatever it is. So I've definitely fallen into that, and that's something I always recommend to people, that when they do buy back their time, that they reinvest that time into their work again.
Yeah, absolutely. I agree. I mean, you're not buying back leisure time. I think that's what a lot of
That's what it is. Yes, you're
people
not buying back leisure time.
That's what a lot of people say. Oh, I'm gonna buy back some more leisure time. That's not
Yeah.
productive at all. And I was listening to Tom Hopkins, a recording by Tom Hopkins, if you know who he is.
Oh, he's a
Um,
genius.
yes,
He's one of the goats.
he said that this this statement changed one of the people's lives that he taught. And he said the person that mentored the person that he put through sales training also told him, and he's like, Tom, once I tell you this, I can't untell you, right? And it's gonna cause you a lot of pain and a lot of frustration. Because he's like, how did you get so successful? It's like, how did so and so get so successful? Well, Tom, I told him one statement. He's like, really? You telling me one statement can change a person's life and make them successful? And he said, the statement was, what is the most what is the most productive thing for me to do right now? And he said that was the statement, the question that he promoted that the gentleman asked himself every time he sat down in front of the camera, every time he sat down to work. What is the most productive thing I could be doing right now?
I'm gonna write that down and put it on my wall.
And he said
So
that's
it's
what the
so
guy
true.
did right in front of him, right in front of his desk. What is the most productive thing I could be doing right now? And when you go to do your leisure with the time you bought back, you decide not to because you're like, well, that's not the most productive thing I can be doing right now,
Oh, I'm
right?
gonna go play Uno. Is that
Yeah.
very productive? No.
Yeah, no, absolutely. But like he said, there's gonna be times when you don't want to follow that. When you don't, you like you're gonna curse yourself for even writing that statement down and reading
Yes, yes, because you're
it.
gonna think in your mind like, oh man, should I be doing this? Should I be taking a little break? Should I be, doing this
Right.
distraction? And it happens
Yeah.
to me all the time too. The day before work, when I'm in my bed, I always write the most important things to do the next day. So right, I always write my next day's to-do list the night before. So that way when I wake up, I know exactly what I'm gonna do and I can get to work, right? Jeff Bezos talks about tackling the most important things the first thing in the morning. Don't wait. For the most important thing should be done immediately, as soon as you sit down to work, as opposed to, oh, the most important thing, I'll do that at noon. I'll do that at 2 p.m. I'll do that at 4, and the day ends up going by. So, at night, I'm like, okay, I got to do this. I got to check on the ads. I got to write the copy for this person. I got to do XYZ. And so in the morning, I look at my list and I already know the most important things I should be doing. Now, the problem is if I finish that and if I sit down and actually focus and do those things and it takes me an hour, you know, then at that point, I would want to look at that statement. What's the most important, what's the most productive thing you should be working on right now? As opposed to like, oh, I already did my list. I could relax all day. Another big mistake. And I'll fall into that too. I'll finish my important tasks, but then I won't continue prioritizing the business. I won't be creative into finding the next thing, into doing more outreach, into doing more, generating more business. So, having something like that, Tom Hopkins is a genius. I'm gonna write that out right behind my laptop, so that way I'm like, what's the most important, most productive thing I could be doing right now? And it's not gonna be playing games. It's gonna be like actually moving forward in the business. So thank you for
Yeah.
that.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, when it comes to prioritizing, I think that's important. That's an important question to ask yourself to know how you truly decide to spend your time. Know what you truly decide to spend your time on. If you're an entrepreneur, that should be one of the most important questions to ask yourself.
Yeah. If
Um,
you don't have direction, and if you're not engaging yourself to focus more, then you're going to be going all sorts of places. Like sometimes I'll finish my important tasks and then I'll bounce around between random tasks, not really knowing like what's the best way, not really thinking about, what's the most important thing I should be prioritizing. So it's so important to prioritize and knowing exactly like how to move your business forward and what you should be doing. So that way you don't start drifting and you don't start getting distracted and you can focus in on what actually matters.
absolutely. Now, on that note, leads us to our next point is saying no to opportunities, to different things, and the importance of saying no to different types of opportunities. Because I believe the more successful you become at whatever you do, whatever the thing is that you're doing, the more opportunities that come along. When you're broken, you're down and out. And you're just starting out, nobody wants to work with you. Nobody wants to give you opportunity. Nobody wants to
That's
do anything.
right.
And
It
as you
looks like
start
there's no opportunities for you.
Yes, as you start to become more
But
successful, they just start coming out of the woodworks. And it's funny because they hit my wife up all the time with these random opportunities. Sponsor this because people see success and they think, okay, all I need is a successful person to invest in me for me to become successful. When that is not the case, right? You need you to invest in you for you to become successful,
that's
right?
right.
And the more successful you become, then successful people will see that. and be willing to take a chance and risk and invest in you, right? So knowing when to say no. And it's funny because I seen a post, I think it was on Facebook or somewhere, where it says, as an entrepreneur, your yes to no ratio should be 9 to 1. Well, your no to yes ratio should be 9 to 1. So basically, say no 9 out of 10 times, and yes 1 out of 10 times.
Yes. If
And what do
it's
you
not a
think
hell
about
yes, then it's a hell no, you know.
that?
And like what's crazy too is that the more skills that you develop, like when you're broke with no skills, then it feels like there's no opportunities out there. But then when you start developing your skill set, when you learn copywriting, when you learn sales, all of a sudden the world opens up to you the more skills that you have. So is there any opportunities that you've said no to lately, Richard?
Oh man, opportunities that I've said no to lately. I mean, I feel like there's a few. So I have golfing, I guess partner you would call it in the neighborhood. I'm learning, not a golfer by any means, but I'm learning, and there's been quite a
That's a white collar sport right there. It would be
yeah.
a good skill to have.
Yeah, yeah. So, and I figured it'd be something that, leisure time, and it's that you don't exert a lot of energy golfing. And I started one. There's a golf course like literally right next to our neighborhood, and some of the houses actually have access to the golf course where you can pay for a gate. It's a country club. Let me change that. It's a country club, so you can pay for the gate to be put on your fence, and you pay how much for the membership, and then you can go and golf whenever you want, right? So he has that, and he invites along, um and there's a lot of times I got to say no. I mean, just recently I was like, I would love to come out there and golf, and just talk, and but just I have so much to do, something, and I've gotten better at saying no, to where I don't even necessarily say no. I just don't even acknowledge, if that makes sense. I'm so busy, I don't even respond to people's messages. Sometimes I don't even see your message, right? Because I'm focused. And I'll respond later, and people say, oh, no worries. I figured you were busy. Like, if you're, every time you get text, you're responding, you're not busy as an entrepreneur. You're not busy enough. If
Yeah.
there's times you're not going 3 hours, 2 hours a day without replying to someone, people think, oh, I got to reply. It shows that, I'm responsive, I'm a responsible person, blah, blah, blah.
It also
And
shows low status if you're always available. If you
yes,
think about the dating scene, so, I bring this up because I've been on a lot of dates recently, trying to find that future wife, right?
right,
So
absolutely.
you
Amen
can't
to that.
respond immediately. And guess what the dates say? They say, "Oh, I know you didn't respond immediately, so I thought you were busy. I assumed you were busy, you know." So
Mm.
it elevated my status in their eyes that I was protecting my time, that I was busy, and I explained, "Oh, I was working." But in reality, the truth is, I saw the text, ignored it because I'm in the middle of working, So in the back of my mind, I'm like, oh, I'm gonna text 3 hours. Sometimes I'll set a reminder like, oh, text girl back 4 hours later,
Yep.
So that way they know that I'm busy. They know that I value my time, and it elevates my status in their eyes too. So like what works in sales works in dating.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And the thing is, you don't have to be too busy to type of text. Like, it takes a few seconds. So I get it. Like, no one probably is too busy unless we're doing something like we're doing now, talking, right? Where I'm not going to be interrupted. But even though it takes a few seconds, science and medicine can actually prove it actually takes longer than that, because your brain has to be off track. Your brain is not focused on something else. So the time it takes, they say, when you look away, like to read a text, it takes you about 30, 45 seconds on the road. So you thinking it's just that quick second of glancing down at the reading the text, because your brain is, reading the text, understanding the text, all these things, it takes you about 30 to 45 seconds to recalibrate and refocus on actually driving. So, and which
Mm,
that is a big
I
gap.
didn't know that.
That
That
is a
is, that's a,
big gap when it comes to driving. They say
anything
so.
can happen in 40 seconds, you know?
Yeah,
You could
anything can
crash
happen.
at any moment.
Yeah. So it's that even though you have since stopped looking down at your phone and you're looking back up at the road, your brain still hasn't come back to you driving and your motor skills are not back at 100%, right?
Yes. What's worse is when you're in flow state, you know, when you're in flow state and you're working, you're in your deep work. You're doing your best work because you're totally focused. The world doesn't exist except for what's in front of you. And then you get a ding from your phone. What does that do? That takes you out of flow state. That takes you out of your best work. And so it's important that when you are doing your most important work, that you either put your phone on silent or you put your phone in another room because your attention is being taken away from the most important thing. So it's important that you protect your time, that you protect your focus. Sam Ovens puts his phone on airplane mode and he puts it in a drawer in another room. So that way nothing can rob him of his focus. And also, whenever somebody takes your focus and attention away from you, that's giving them power over you and your attention. So what, like, why does a random girl that I'm texting from Tinder, from Bumble, have power over me, over my attention? It doesn't work like that. So, it's better to, put your phone somewhere else where you don't see it when you're doing your most important work. Especially the best work for me personally happens in the morning. After I wake up, after I wake up, shower, have my coffee, and I'm sitting down, I do my work. During that time, I'm putting my phone in another room. I'm not trying to get distracted randomly from hey, what are you doing? Hey, how's your morning? Hey, when's the next date? Or whatever it is, that's going to take me away from the most important things. And it's important to protect our time, to protect our focus and attention, because we're in a way we're giving our power to something else outside of ourselves. And especially when it comes to growing your business, why should anybody take that attention and power away from you? And don't get me wrong, it's totally fine to respond to people in a timely manner, but there's a time and a place for that, and it's not going to be when you're prioritizing the most important hours of the day for your work. Does that make sense?
No, it does make sense. Protecting time is when it comes to relationships, having relationships is important. We are social creatures. You can't be a business owner without good relationships, right? So being good at developing relationships is necessary to be, entrepreneur, to be successful in life in general. So that's why people are like, oh, Donald Trump, oh, Elon Musk, these people have terrible relationships. No, they don't. You would not
Oh,
be
they have great relationships.
you would not be successful if you didn't have great relationships, right? Now, you have terrible relationship and you project that off on a person because you misunderstand people. So, don't get me wrong, people are hard. Some of these people can be harsh, some of these people can be very direct in their language and things like that. But again, that's when a person really values their time. Let me not beat around the bush and talk about a bunch of nonsense before I tell you what you just presented to me is trash and it sucks. Now, I don't have to be disrespectful in the way I'm saying it. I'm not going to use slang. I'm not going to use derogatory words to, down talk you and say you're trash. I'm going to tell you what you did was trash. The project that you completed was garbage, right? And I need something better. It means, oh, you know what, beating around the bush at a certain level, that becomes less and less necessary. I'm not saying we know the sandwich method is what I used to get taught, when you would criticize somebody's work, right? You talk
The
something
sandwich
good,
method. Oh, you
yeah,
you sandwich the
good,
criticism
yeah,
between the good thing.
good, yeah,
Oh,
yeah,
I love how
good,
you did this,
negative,
but
yeah, yeah, yes. So but once you get to a certain level and you've worked with someone for so long and it's the same ongoing project, you don't really need to sandwich everything, right? It's not something to sandwich everything, right?
yeah,
When you're criticizing that person, sandwich it. When you're criticizing what they've done, that you can just listen.
yeah.
This part of what you did is not great. Go back and fix it.
And actually, I don't even like to use ad hominem attacks. Like, oh, I think you're lazy recently. I always
Yeah,
avoid
no.
anything related to the individual. I always attack the behavior. I always go for, the tardiness, the activity, the action that I dislike or disapprove of instead of
Hmm.
like, hey, you're lazy. Hey, you're this. Ad hominem is like a personal criticism or attack on the individual. So I always, go for the attack, the activity, the behavior that I disapprove of. But I totally get what you're saying, Richard. I've experienced that a lot as well. When giving criticism, when training people,
Yes,
it's
absolutely.
important.
And as an entrepreneur, there's no person that you should be spending an hour other than your clients an hour on the phone with,
Yeah.
beyond an hour.
Oh,
My
I
mom,
do. I do have a question though.
yes, sir.
You just said that too. Like your mom. Like, what about your family too?
Yes, so
How does that work for you?
family is important. And mom, I'll spend there's like on the weekend when I have nothing else to do, there's going to be a chance where I spend an hour on the phone, maybe even more. But it's every so often, and we don't talk every day, maybe once a week. Some weeks we'll skip weeks of talking. Maybe I talk
Really?
to her,
Wow, that's
her
interesting. I talk to my
in
mom like maybe
in 2 weeks.
4 times a week.
But here's the thing. It's not just on my end. So your relationship has to be mutual. Mom, also, I'll call her and she doesn't answer the phone. And not because she's just that busy. My mom is in a master's program. She's a full-time office, in one of the board on the board of directors at her job, like full-time, manager there, for a, small business lending firm. And she's I mean involved in church, so she's just found all these things. There's times when I she calls me and she's like, I'm just giving you a quick call because I missed a couple of your calls already, and I'm on the way back home, getting off from class, and I'm like, Monday through Friday, and what time is it? It is 9 o'clock her time, 9 p.m.
Hmm.
her time.
9
Right?
p.m. Wow, she's busy.
Yeah, yeah, she is really busy. So you're getting off work, and you get off work at 5, 6 o'clock. You go from 5, 6 o'clock to 9 o'clock to 8, 9 o'clock in class. And
Hmm.
so she don't have no time to be talking on the phone for an
Yeah.
hour with her son. Like, God bless her, she loves her son, right? But listen, I got to get this master's degree. Right,
Hey,
once
what about the kiddos though? Like, oh, I'm in danger. Oh, I need some help. Like, how do you handle when your kid when kids are calling you? What if it's an emergency? What's your approach there?
Listen up. So for everybody who's watching right now, I'm at home. Right, I'm at home, and I heard a couple crying, and I did not
Oh,
move an
okay.
inch. Right, we have a
Okay.
17-year-old. Right, he's good enough to handle a 4-year-old crying, and if they need me, they'll come run down and say, "All right, Dad, this is what's going on." Right.
Is your wife there too? Like,
No, I'm the
she's
only one at
available?
home right now.
Oh,
So
okay.
she's gonna watch this and she's like, they were crying and you didn't. You're like, no, I didn't move.
You ignore them on purpose?
But every like family, my wife knows this well because the nature of my business, right? I'm constantly in meetings, sales calls, right? So she knows, and she's in the industry as well. So she knows that if she needs me, call me twice, right? If I'm not busy, I'll answer the first time, right? And I answer pretty much all her calls, but I'll tell her, hey, I got 5 minutes. I got 10 minutes. I got 15 minutes. Is there something like you want to discuss that needs 15 minutes of my time? Oh, I just call to see what you're doing. Oh, okay, blah, 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 blah. And most of the time we spend time together because we work together. Like we're in Zoom and things like that. But when I'm in the office, she might be at home. I'm in Zoom, whatever the case may be. Or I'm on lunch, then she'll call me, right? As far as the kids go, I mean, the kids, they're fairly independent, right? So they don't really, bother me at work. And she takes, God bless her, wife takes on the blunt of all of that,
That's awesome.
right? Where I get
Yeah.
to
And then
just
a
work.
17-year-old, that's a young adult right there. So,
Yes, yes,
that's a
yeah,
chance for him to step up
yeah.
and help with his brothers and sisters.
Yes, absolutely. So, and he does good with that. I can compliment him on that. He's now working for the firm. So
No, family
yeah,
business. Let's go.
yeah. So he's interning right now. I mean, he needed to fulfill it for his senior year of school. So I was like, oh, why intern somewhere else? Come intern here. So
Yeah, congratulations. That's great.
yeah. So I'm putting him to work. He's actually designed some new business cards and different things already.
Nice.
So
Have him do the setting, the sales calls. So like have him do the dials, have him get rejected. That rejection is important, I think, for young adults because
yeah,
it makes them stronger and it increases their social skills.
yeah.
And any sales job for a teenager, oh, that's gonna be great. Well, one of the biggest changes that I saw was when I first got my kiosk sales job. I think
Hmm.
after having hundreds of conversations, thousands of one-on-one sales, it really elevated my skill set so that I was able to enter any new niche and have success because I already knew the foundational skill of sales and that wouldn't have happened had I not jumped on the sales opportunity that a kiosk provided. And that's a very treacherous sales business. The kiosk business, it's devastating. It's like
Oh yeah.
the arena, it's like gladiators doing battle every single day, every single
It's
minute of every hour when you're at the kiosk. Everybody hates you. You have this armor around you. You have this forced charisma, you have this forced social skills that you developed, and nothing else has been as transformative as a sales job in
Oh yeah,
youth.
100%. I mean, the kiosk, kiosk is one step below the try fried rice, the kung pao
The
chicken,
samples.
like
It,
the
it's even
samples.
more aggressive too. It's like
Yeah,
sometimes
right.
it's like you
And
hook the attention and then grab them and then persuade them to follow you to the kiosk and you're asking for 15 minutes of their time. You're
yeah,
not saying that outright, but you're hooking them with something, with a compliment, with a word, with a phrase, with a question, and then you're getting them to your kiosk and then you're selling them $1,000 of product. It's
yeah,
insane that process.
yeah,
So that has been some of the most fun and the most transformative sales experiences of my life. Doing
yeah.
those one-on-one kiosk sales was it changed my life completely.
Absolutely. I can see that too. I mean, kiosk, yeah, it's a definitely a harsh business in some sense, but transformative, I'm sure. Same thing with the insurance industry. I mean, I was telling my neighbor he's an accountant, tax accountant, and I was like,
Oh, that's different.
you guys are a little one step above me, right? And when in a party. Nobody likes the insurance guy, and the tax accountant is right above the insurance guy. The only reason
Hmm.
why I said you're right above me is you actually help people keep their money. I just take it, right? And I give it to your family, right? So, just a little bit like, hey, you don't like me as much, right? And you're talking about
Yeah.
debts and
And
things like
an
that.
accountant doesn't have to, many times, an accountant doesn't have to sell for his business. I
No,
mean, in a way, he does have to sell his services, but if he works for a firm, like most life insurance agents, I don't know if they work for firms. I think, like I think the most important thing might be sales for
yes.
for a life insurance person. Am I
Yes.
correct in that?
Yeah, no, most important thing is definitely absolutely sales. I mean, constantly selling. Health insurance is a little bit different because, a
Because you
person,
need it,
yeah,
health
you need
insurance.
it and you'll renew it like every year. Most people stay on with the person they've been working with. Anytime a client leaves when it comes to health insurance, is the agent dropped the ball. Life
Oh, okay.
insurance, you can count it on the agent dropping the ball, but somebody else could have gotten to them, right?
Oh yeah.
Or they just decided they don't need the life insurance anymore. There's a lot of factors where health insurance, those factors won't be affected. So, um, yeah, if you have a firm that deals in both, yeah, you're an agent that
Mm,
works with a firm. But for the most part, a lot of agents are independent or they work at a state farm or, something
mm,
like that, where, I mean, you're not in control at all. You're not even you're barely an entrepreneur at that point.
I see. In marketing agency services, the first thing to get cut is marketing services,
Yeah.
especially if it's a contractor, especially if it's an agency,
Mhm.
and doubly so if the agency isn't performing, So like it can be very volatile, handling clients. But as long as you're making the client money, they're not gonna cut you, But if
Right.
there's a down month, and it's just like dating too, because like a woman will stay with you based off of future, what she'll get from you in the future. So, for example, you know, uh, I I can make a client like for example, I made a client $900,000 in sales from my services, right? But
Hmm.
none of that matters. If none of that matters, it depends on what I'm gonna do for the client in the future, But like like if I make the client $900,000, but then we have a down month where I make the client $0, that next month the client is thinking, well, Jerry, we didn't have any sales last month. You know, in the client's mind, it's not about what I've done for the client in the past. It's about what I'm gonna do for the client in the future. So even though I've made the client $900,000, the client is gonna say, well, Jerry, we had a zero sale month last month, and your service cost XYZ per month. So, we're going to, move forward with, or bring it in-house or something,
I was about to
So,
say that's generally
and
the
in
answer.
my mind, I'm like, well, last year, we made this much money, like that makes up for, this last month, this last month, maybe the sales guy wasn't on point, like certain things were out of my control, for example, maybe the setter quit, the sales guy wasn't doing a good job, but like the first guy to get cut is going to be the marketing services guy. So, it's very tumultuous in that regard because of human psychology. Even though I've made the client 900, and this happened to me in 2024. That's why I bring it
Yeah.
up because I'm
Yeah.
maybe a little bit salty about it.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I think the thing too is you got to look at understand the psychology. Like psychology is like one of my favorite things, right? The psychology of your clients is they don't care about you bringing them leads, especially in the marketing agency. Nobody cares about how many leads you can get, right? I always say, in insurance, people talk, insurance agencies and agents talk about leads all the time like it's the most important thing in a business. The most important thing is sales. It's closing the deal. Like don't forget
Exactly.
that. That
Closing
is
the
that is
deal.
the that's how your doors stay open, and not just closing the deal, but the client's paying their bill. Right? So that's the most important thing. You actually have to get revenue in. So but leads we know is a step to that, right? And so, but a lead is just a name and a phone number, right? These processes have been developed to have more quality leads, get more leads, more qualified leads, all these things to make the closing easier. But if you don't do the closing, none of that actually matters, right? So,
Absolutely.
um, with that, I know a lot of people say, oh, when hiring a marketing agency, what you're kind of looking at is how much money we made last year,
Yeah. They
not
want
how
more
many
sales.
leads Jerry actually brought in, and which that's the only, it's sad because that's the only thing you're responsible for is bringing in the leads. You're not responsible for closing the deals,
Well,
but
yeah, that's exactly right. The sales process is, first of all, generating leads is so easy. A lot of people say, "Oh, I don't have any leads. It's so hard to generate leads." Leads are actually so easy and simple. Like there's already proven ads, proven copy. The niches are already rock solid. There's proven ads in every niche. Generating leads is a piece of cake. It's converting the leads. That's
right.
that's the hard part. And a lot of clients they think they need leads, but they have no good sales process. They have no proven scripts. They don't have a solid sales process. And the people say, okay, well, I just need leads. Jerry, if you can get me leads. Okay, well, what's your sales process? Oh, I don't know this and that, and I wing it and blah blah blah. Like that's a recipe for disaster. Because if I bring somebody 1,000 qualified leads that say, hey, I'm this kind of person, I make this much money. If I have these these seemingly, high quality leads, but then the client doesn't know how to sell, doesn't know how to do follow up, doesn't know how to, follow a script, how to, book meetings, how to do any of these things, then he's going to blame the marketing guy. He's going to be like, oh, I haven't closed the deal yet, Jerry. I've had 60 meetings this month from the leads. I haven't been able to close any. Okay, well, is that the fault of your sales process, or is it the fault of the leads? Which is it? Is it a lead quality issue? Is it a sales issue? Many times, actually 9 times out of 10, it's going to be the sales process
Oh
because
yeah, how
so
many
many
calls
instances like that.
are you booking? And you have to know your numbers, right? How many calls are you booking, sales calls? And in those sales calls, how much time are you spending? And then how long you should already know how long it tells you to close it takes you to close a deal. So
Hmm.
if you're spending X amount of time in a meeting, then how many of those actually get to the point where you're asking them a yes or no, like you're making the final
Yeah.
offer.
How many
And
offers are you doing?
yeah, and if you're making the final offer, then how many of those are accepting? Because a client that doesn't want your service is not even going to let you make the final offer. So if they're not in need of the services, they're not going to listen to your final offer. If they listen to your final offer, that means they at least thinking about acquiring your service. Now that's a skill problem. Develop the skills for anyone that is on the fence or thinking about your service. Everybody wants a lay down client. Those don't come very often. Everybody,
Yes. Everybody wants warm and hot leads that are
yeah, they're
ready to buy.
hey,
They
I
just want
want
to be
insurance.
they just
Hey.
want to be order takers, but many times it's not going to be like if you're driving cold traffic, these people don't know you yet. They don't know and trust you just yet. And so that's why I only like to work with people that already have a good sales process, that already have sales under the belt, that already have a proven offer, a proven sales process, because all those people need are more quantity, more volume. It's the people that without sales experience, with a business that is barely, scraping by. Those are the most difficult clients, the ones that pay the least, the ones that have a bad sales process, that don't know how to close very well, and they expect a marketing agency owner to magically save their business. Those are the worst clients, and those are the people that don't get results, the people that don't know, that don't know how to sell. So that's why it's important to pick the right avatar, somebody with a good sales process that's doing a certain amount of money per month. That those are the best people to hire a marketing agency, because those are the people that get the best results. Somebody with good experience, good sales process, that just need volume, that already have something that's proven and that's working. And then I can come in there and I look like a god, like, oh my God, Jerry, this is amazing. Thank you. These
Yeah,
leads are
yeah,
amazing, because they just need volume. They already have a good process.
yeah.
So that's why it's important to pick your customer, to, pick the right customer. Don't pick any customer. If,
And
if anybody's willing to give you money, but they don't have a business yet, and they expect you to create the business for them, that's a recipe for disaster, and it's going
yeah,
to breed
the,
resentment
the
in the client.
customers you the customers you pick will have a direct reflection on your reputation in the marketplace. So,
Exactly.
Honda's customers that Honda's picked is the result why Honda is recognized in the marketplace. Ford, same reason. It's that these are the clients they decided to go towards. It's the community they decided to advertise to. This is the community they decided to sell to, right? And that's why their reputation is the way it is in the marketplace. For example, for our agency, we started off when we started the agency and went independent. Yes, we were in the business for a while, but when we went independent, we had about 1,300 leads. And I'm talking about 1,300 names and numbers. Some were more qualified than some, for different things that we had, different information we had about the lead, right? And maybe there was a relationship there or something like that at some point as well. But there was 1,300 in our database system, in our go high level, if you will. There was 1,300 names, right? And with that, we have been able to have a very successful year on 13. People look at that and say, that's not a lot. But it's a lot when you sit down with every client, and every client you have a process to get four additional names every time you sit down with someone,
That's
right?
right.
So
That's
you
right. A good sales
start.
process, a proven script.
Right. So now you take 1,300. If you were, we know we're not sitting down with all 13, but if you did sit down and you averaging four additional, that's 5,200. You're free for free. 50. Now
Yes.
you have 5,200 leads for free, right? And you haven't paid, you haven't done any advertisement, none of that stuff. So it's important to build up your organic process before you even move on to the paid process, right? And master your sales call, master your closing, master your referral collection, and all these things.
Amen, brother. Amen.
Yeah, and that's why I think it's important for any entrepreneur. Yes, you don't want to work for people, but taking some kind of training or even being trained, like your first sales job, don't I'm gonna, be an entrepreneur. The first thing I do, if you have the dream, keep the dream. Write down your goals. But it might be important for you to take somewhere that has the resources and the training to train you. Go into a kiosk business working for somebody else. Go into,
Yes. Develop that skill and build that
and
muscle.
yeah, and they're willing to put the time and effort because they know if they train you, even if you stay for 2 months, they're making their profit on what it costs to train you, right? So they're not even worried. The insurance agency I was working for before I decided to do my own, he knew it was $1,200 to get somebody through the door on day one of training. That was the cost to get somebody through the door was $1,200 day one of training. But that person was going to make that $1,200 back for them in the space of, you know, 2, 3 weeks. 2, 3 weeks, he's going to make that time back for them. So I think it's important to kind of know those numbers and take that risk, take that leap of faith, and let
Yes,
somebody
I
else train
agree. I remember when, when I first got into the sales job, I was eager to learn, having that attitude of I'm here to learn, I'm here to grow my skills is so important. What I did was when I first got into the kiosk sales job, I memorized the script. A lot of people don't memorize the script. After buying the business and then, starting my own thing, I'd have I'd have the people memorize the script when I first hired them. And then on day one of training, about, okay, how much of the script do you have memorized? Oh, I don't have it memorized yet. I'm like, what? The first thing I did is I memorized the script in 3 days, because I was committed to learning the
Oh,
process,
absolutely.
and a lot of people don't want to put in that work of memorizing the script. But what I did, I memorized the script word for word, and then I put it into practice, and I was hungry, I was eager, and that's the kind of things you want to be looking for when you're hiring. Maybe it's a little off topic, but after I had memorized the script and I'd work hard to it, I'd be like, okay, how else can I improve? So I would call up personally the best sales guy in the company. I'd call him and I'd ask him, hey, what can I do to improve my sales ability? How else can I improve? This is what I'm doing. You're at the very top. So, what I always tell people is that if you're entering a sales job, look at the top guy and then do what he's doing. Exactly. Do what he's doing word for word, line by line. Ask exactly what his process is, and learn from the best in the company and try to, beat that person. So, when I called this guy and I would ask him, I would grill him on his process, I'd question him on everything. And then at the end, he was like, Jerry, wow, no one's ever done this before. Thank you so much for calling me. So what he did, he actually flew out to my location, and because I made such an impression on him, he told the boss, hey, I want to go to Colorado. I want to focus on Jerry and his team. He's doing great, and he called me up and he asked me all these questions, and he came to train us. And so it was wonderful, and our sales increased by a lot. So like if you are hungry for knowledge, for learning, for improvement, then do those things, and that's what I attribute my success to, hungriness for learning and a hungriness for hard work. So
Yeah, absolutely. that hunger is what separates champions from losers. There's no way to
Yes.
there's no way to sugarcoat that. There's two types of people. There's the winners and there's losers, right? The if you don't win, you lose, right? And what separates the winner from you separates you from being a loser and becoming a winner is the hunger. It is the willingness to sacrifice. What are you willing to sacrifice? Are you just wistfully thinking? Or are you actually willing to sacrifice your right now gratification, your leisure time, your whatever for becoming better for that dream? You have it. And that's one of the things when I'm hiring, that's one of the things I ask. What is that dream that you have? Think about it. Think about it. I would tell them, close your eyes, picture the house, picture the family. And even in my sales calls with my clients, I do the same thing, right? Because I tell them life insurance is for a little bit off topic, but life insurance is a way to that life that you imagine. You close your eyes, you picture that life, right? That's your family, kids, big house, whatever. All of that. The purpose of life insurance to make sure that your family still gets that if something happens to you before you give it to them while you're alive. Right? So if I want my family to be multimillionaires, well, to when I have $0, the life insurance that it's going to cost me to make them multimillionaires after, depending on how old I am, might be a lot or it might be not that much, right? But I will tell you, the closer I get to that millionaire marker as I'm living, the requirements for paying for that life insurance to get them over the hump is less and less because the gap between that dream and reality is now smaller, if that makes sense. Does that make
Yeah,
sense?
makes perfect
So
sense.
your insurance is really protecting your future dream, the dream you have about your future. Now, if you're not doing anything towards it, that's why a lot of people spend a lot of money on life insurance because you're not
Yeah.
doing anything towards it, right? So
Wow.
yeah, I think
I'm sold on life insurance. That was great. I got a big dream.
it's
So
yeah, no, absolutely. Well, we'll take care of you,
all
man.
right,
So
thanks, brother.
yeah,
Put the link below for any viewers.
yeah, absolutely. Listen, you guys want life insurance, you feel like you want agency, you want marketing for your agency as well, drop a comment, reach out to us. The
Yeah,
link is
exactly.
always in the
We're
bio as
available.
well.
Well, happy
Yeah,
to field any questions.
yeah, absolutely. I mean, Jerry, well, this has been a great topic. It's been a pleasure
Thank
going
you.
through this
Yes,
with
great
you.
topic. Lots of good energy, great vibes. Thank you so much for another great episode.
Yeah, absolutely, guys. If you're not following, over 80% of our viewers do not subscribe, guys. I've been looking through the numbers. So with that, if you're not subscribed to the channel, go ahead and hit that subscription button, turn your notifications on and catch us in the next episode. But until then, if you have any comments, please let us know, how do you protect your time? What are some of the most valuable things how do you prioritize your work? And those relationships. What are those relationships that are important to you? We want to know. So leave a comment.
Yes, thank you. Thank you. And have a great rest of your day, everybody. Thank you for
All
watching.
right. Till next time, guys. Peace.
Peace.